Today on Delta Safari, Luke and I give you our top 5 national parks that we've never been to. Number 5. The National Park of American Samoa is both the most remote national park in the system and quite possibly the least well known. The National Park of American Samoa welcomes you into the heart of the South Pacific, to a world of sights, sounds, and experiences that you will find in no other national park in the United States. Mother Nature is unparalleled in this park. The animal life of the park is unique among the U.S. national parks. Key animal forms, from flying foxes or fruit bats in the mountains to the massive coral reefs along the shorelines, shape all natural ecosystems here. The Samoan archipelago is a typical Pacific Ocean volcanic island arc. As the Pacific Ocean plate moves across the stationary hotspot, a place where molten rock from the Earth's mantle pierces the lithosphere plate, it forms a line of volcanoes, some of which reach the ocean surface to form a string of islands. The park is an outdoor laboratory of Samoan schools, and it offers opportunities for guided field trips. Enjoy this unique national park and the welcoming people of American Samoa. Nearly 6,000 miles from the U.S. mainland, American Samoa is in the heart of Polynesia. The Samoan culture is Polynesia's oldest. They believe the first people of the Samoan Islands came by sea from Southwest Asia almost 3,000 years ago. From Samoa, seafaring explorers and settlers journeyed to the other Polynesian island groups hundreds of miles away. The remoteness of a park will be a recurring theme in this top 5, as you'll soon see. Number 4. This park has been known by many names throughout time, sometimes multiple different names all at the same time. Pemetic, Mount Desert, Shkodik, Sierra de Maltz, Lafayette, and ultimately Acadia National Park. Acadia protects the natural beauty of the highest rocky headlands along the Atlantic coastline of the U.S., an abundance of habitats, and a rich cultural heritage. At 4 million visits a year, it's one of the top 10 most visited national parks in the United States. Visitors enjoy 27 miles of historic motor roads, 158 miles of hiking trails, and 45 miles of carriage road. Native American peoples have inhabited the land we now call Maine for 12,000 years. Today, people of the 4 tribes, the Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot, collectively known as the Wabanaki, or people of the Dawnland, live throughout the state of Maine. Tribal governments have a government-to-government relationship with Acadia National Park and the nearby Abbey Museum. Abbey Museum is a native guided museum of Wabanaki art, history, and culture. In partnership with the Smithsonian Institute, the museum holds the largest and best documented collection of Maine Indian basketry and has built an extensive contemporary collection documenting the continuing Wabanaki craft tradition in the state of Maine. Acadia National Park preserves approximately 50,000 acres, all along the midsection of the Maine coast, containing the tallest mountains on the eastern seaboard, an iconic rocky Maine coastline, and subalpine rocky summits. The park's mountains, lakes, streams, wetlands, forests, meadows, and coastlines contribute to the diversity of plants and animals found here. Acadia is within the transition zone between southern and northern forests, and as a result, hosts plant species and communities currently at the edge of their geographic range. The park's location along the Atlantic Flyway makes it an important resting and feeding place for migrating birds and bats. Number 3. A few years ago, I traveled up to North Dakota to the town of Minot, which is only about 2 hours away from Theodore Roosevelt National Park, once again, one of the most remote national parks in the system. My traveling companion was quite adamant that after 3 days in my Ford Ranger to get to Minot, we weren't about to pile in the truck for 2 more hours just to go look at some horses and bison. When Theodore Roosevelt first came to the Dakota Territory to hunt bison around 1883, he was a skinny, young, bespectacled dude from New York. He could not have imagined how his adventure in this remote and unfamiliar place would forever alter the course of this nation. The rugged landscape and strenuous life that TR experienced here would help shape a conservation policy that we still benefit from today. The park is comprised of 3 separate areas of land. The first 2, the north and south units, feature scenic drives, wildlife viewing, hiking, visitor centers, ranger-led programs, and much more. The third, undeveloped Elkhorn Ranch unit preserves the site of Roosevelt's home ranch in a remote area along the Little Missouri River. The North Unit is a bit off the beaten path alongside North Dakota Highway 85. Its ruggedness and beauty and the solitude you'll find in the less visited unit of the park are well worth the 50-mile drive from Interstate 94. Conveniently located along Interstate 94, the South Unit is the park's most visited area. 2 visitor center, a scenic drive, hiking trails, and plenty of watchable wildlife entice visitors to stay a while. The South Unit's small but bustling gateway town, Medora, is an attraction in its own right. The Elkhorn Ranch unit preserves the place Roosevelt selected to be his home ranch after the deaths of his wife and mother. This unit of the park has a special, solemn character. There are no visitor centers, facilities, or scenic roads, but driving to the unit is quite scenic. Theodore Roosevelt Park is famous because it has bison, mountains, canyons, genuine badlands, and most famously, wild horses. To this day, I still kick myself for not making that 2-hour drive. But you know what? I'll make it back up there one day. Number 2. There is a place in far west Texas where night skies are dark as coal and rivers carve temple-like canyons in ancient limestone. Here, at the end of the road, hundreds of bird species take refuge in a solitary mountain range surrounded by weather-beaten desert. Tenacious cactus bloom in the sublime southwestern sun, and species diversity is the best in the country. This magical place is Big Bend. Big Bend is famous for its natural resources and spectacular geology. The park's varied array of habitats support more than 1,200 species of plants, including some 60 cacti species, 11 species of amphibians, 56 species of reptiles, 40 species of fish, 75 species of mammals, and over 400 species of birds, and about 3,600 species of insects. The park boasts more types of birds, bats, butterflies, ants, scorpions, and cacti than any other national park in the United States. From 500 million year old rocks at Persimmon Gap to modern day wind-blown sand dunes at Baquias Canyon, Big Bend preserves tremendous geological diversity. Marine sedimentary rocks, continental sedimentary rocks, volcanic rocks, and even evidence of 3 great North American mountain building episodes are found within the park's boundaries. Timing is very important for seeing specific birds or a diversity of species. Of the 450 species reported in the park, only 56 live in Big Bend year-round. This highlights the importance of spring and fall migrants, as well as summer and winter visitors. If you wish to find a particular species of bird, it is best to search within appropriate habitats at the proper time of year. Man's prehistoric occupation of the Big Bend is generally divided into 5 periods: Paleo-Indian, Early Archaic, Middle Archaic, Late Archaic, and Late Prehistoric. Throughout the Paleo-Indian period, 10,000 to 6,500 BC, the Indians depended primarily on large game for food, clothing, and shelter. As the climate changed at the end of the last ice age, becoming warmer and drier, large game animals like bison declined, ushering in a move toward hunting smaller game. Indians of this new era, the early to late Archaic periods 6500 BC to 1000 AD, began relying more on plants they gathered for clothing, shelter, and food. By the end of the late prehistoric period, AD 700 to 1535, Spanish mission priests traveling through the area reported small bands of nomadic peoples they called the Amigeaux living in the high mountains. This society marks the beginning of the historic era, AD 1535 to present, and it's for them that the Amigeaux Mountains are named. By the 1700s, the Amigeaux Indians were either absorbed or forced out of the region altogether by the Mescalero Apaches, who were then themselves displaced from Big Bend by another American Indian group, the Comanche. As incredible as the natural beauty and history is in Big Bend, there's one reason that I want to visit this park: stargazing. Numero 10. Although Yellowstone is the first national park, Yosemite is why we have a national park system, and because of that, it is impossible to overstate the importance of this incredible park. With a wildflower assortment unparalleled in the 48 contiguous, Yosemite is perhaps at its best during the spring. Still others insist that winter is the time to really experience the grandeur that is Yosemite. The list of iconic locations found within this park cannot be rivaled by any other park in the system. Half Dome, El Capitan, Yosemite Valley. These are just some of the most well-known national park destinations in all of the country. Moving water leaves its signature throughout Yosemite. It has shaped the park's dramatic landscapes, most visibly in Yosemite's smooth granite and famous waterfalls. The presence of water is also seen in the lush green of Yosemite's meadows and the groves of giant sequoias that require specific hydraulic conditions to thrive. The water that originates here also plays a critical role in satisfying California's need for fresh water. and supports myriad species on its way to the Pacific Ocean. Yosemite is the most important park in the system because it installed and solidified the idea of conservation. It also is home to one of the great lessons in why conservation in national parks is so important, and that is the lessons we learned from the Hetch Hetchy Valley. It is said that prior to damming it up, this valley was every bit as beautiful as the iconic and quite possibly most photographed valley in the world, Yosemite Valley itself. I suppose in hindsight it's easy to say that if the place you build your city doesn't have a water source sufficient to take care of 3 million people, perhaps you shouldn't have built a city there. The irreversible damages done to the Hetch Hetchy Valley after damming the river remains one of America's greatest errors. But like the old saying goes, if you're going to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. The lessons that we learned from the mistake of damming the Hetch Hetchy Valley has transcended that mistake to form one of the best hydrology programs in the entire country. And because of this, we have these incredible waterfalls that Yosemite is so famous for. If you want to learn more about the tragedy at Hetch Hetchy, I would like to direct you to a wonderful YouTube channel called National Park Diaries. And there's a link below to the episode about Hetch Hetchy entitled How San Francisco Stole Hetch Hetchy. If you are a hiker or backpacker, Yosemite is absolutely epic. It is one of the greatest hiking destinations in North America. And one of the best ways to experience Yosemite is by taking a hike. Here are some of the hikes available in the different areas of the park: Yosemite Valley, Glacier Point Road, Wawona and Mariposa Grove of giant sequoias, Hetch Hetchy, Crane Flat and White Wolf, and the Tuolumne Meadows. Just in the Yosemite Valley itself are some of the great hiking destinations in the country, including the Lower Yosemite Fall Trail, the Vernal Fale and Novato Falls Trail, and one of the great bucket list hikes in the world, the Half Dome Trail.
Hey hippie, put the pipe down and hit the like and subscribe buttons, or I'm gonna tell the drug dogs where your stash is.